The weeks that followed were difficult. Sophie and I worked together, but there was a distance between us, an awkwardness. We were rebuilding trust, and that takes time. Sophie cancelled all of Rebecca's orders. She brought back the artisan soaps. She restored the window displays to their original character. She listened when I talked about our longtime customers. She asked questions about the history of different items. She started to understand Belle Rave again, not as a business to be optimized, but as a place with meaning. One afternoon, Mrs. Patterson came back. She looked surprised to see the old familiar displays. "Margaret," she said warmly, "did you get those silk scarves back in?" "We did," I said, smiling. "Let me show you." I brought out the scarves. Mrs. Patterson's eyes lit up. "These are exactly what I was looking for," she said. "I am so glad you are still carrying them." "We always will," Sophie said, joining us. "They are part of what makes Belle Rave special." Mrs. Patterson looked between us. "It is good to see you two working together," she said. "This shop is not the same without both of you." After she left, Sophie and I stood at the counter together. "Thank you," she said quietly. "For what?" I asked. "For not giving up on me," she said. "For not kicking me out along with Rebecca. You are my granddaughter," I said. "I would never do that, even though I deserved it." Sophie asked. "Especially because you deserved it," I said. "This is what family does. We give each other chances. We forgive. We try again." Sophie hugged me then. Really hugged me. For the first time in months, it felt real. "I am going to make this right," she said. "I promise, I know you will," I said. 3 months later, Sophie came to me with a proposal. "Grandma," she said, "I want to buy into Belle Rave, not buy you out, buy in. Become a real partner, 50-50, equal say in all decisions. But only if you want that." I looked at the paperwork she had prepared. It was thorough, fair, respectful. "Why now?" I asked. "Because now I understand what I was too blind to see before," Sophie said. "Belle Rave is not just a business. It is a legacy. And I want to be part of that legacy. Not by taking it over, but by honoring it. By working with you, not against you. By learning from you while I still can." I felt tears in my eyes. "While you still can." "Grandma, you are 71, Sophie said gently. "I do not know how many more years we will have to work together, and I do not want to waste a single one of them. I want to learn everything you know. I want to hear all your stories. I want to understand why you chose every item in this shop. I want to know what Grandpa would have thought about things. I want to really be part of this, not just run it. Be part of it." I looked at my granddaughter, really looked at her. And I saw something I had not seen in months: humility, genuine respect, love. "Okay," I said. "Okay." Sophie repeated. "Okay," I said again. "Let's be partners. Real partners." Sophie hugged me so tightly I could barely breathe. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for giving me another chance. That is what grandmothers do," I said. "We give endless chances. Because we remember that everyone deserves to grow. Everyone deserves to learn. Everyone deserves grace." It has been a year now since Rebecca left Belle Rave. The shop is thriving again. Not because we made it more modern or more profitable, but because we made it more itself, more authentic, more true to what it has always been. Sophie and I work together every day. We make decisions together. We disagree sometimes, but we talk through it. We respect each other. We listen to each other. And most importantly, we remember what Belle Rave is really about. It is about the beautiful dream my husband and I had 36 years ago. The dream of creating a space where women could come and feel special. Feel seen, feel valued. Rebecca tried to come back once. She walked in one afternoon and looked around. She saw that we had restored everything she had changed. She saw Sophie and me working side by side. She saw Mrs. Patterson and our other longtime customers browsing happily. "I see you went backwards," she said to me. "No," I said calmly. "We went back to our roots. There is a difference. She opened her mouth to say something else, but Sophie stepped forward. Rebecca, she said firmly, we are not interested in anything you have to say. You were asked to leave, and that has not changed. Please go. Rebecca looked shocked. Sophie, I was only trying to help you. No, Sophie said. You were trying to help yourself. And in the process, you hurt someone I love. Someone who deserves my respect and loyalty. Now please leave before I call the police. Rebecca left. She has not been back since. Rebecca called me a fool. She thought I was too old, too stuck in my ways, too irrelevant to matter. She thought she could push me out of my own business. She thought wrong. I am not a fool. I am a woman who built something beautiful with her husband. A woman who fought to protect that legacy. A woman who stood her ground. A woman who knew her worth. And in the end, I did not win by being louder or meaner or more ruthless. I won by being patient, by being prepared, by having the documents that proved what was always true. I was never a guest in my own shop. I was always the owner. I just had to remind everyone of that fact. If there is a lesson in all of this, it is this. Never let anyone make you feel like you do not belong in the spaces you created. Never let anyone diminish what you have built. Never let anyone tell you that your experience, your wisdom, your history does not matter. It does, you do. And if someone calls you a fool, let them underestimate you. Let them dismiss you. And then, when the moment is right, show them exactly who you are. Show them the papers. Show them the proof. Show them that you are not someone to be pushed aside, because you are not a fool. You are strong. You are worthy. You built something that matters. And no one can take that away from you unless you let them. Sophie's face went pale. Grandma, what are you talking about? You said you wanted to leave the business to me. I do, I said. Eventually. When I am ready. But I never transferred ownership, Sophie. I never signed anything. Belle Rave is still mine. Completely and entirely mine. Rebecca was reading through the papers frantically. This cannot be right, she said. Sophie, you said, I thought, Sophie whispered. I assumed. You always talked about it being mine someday. I thought you had already. You thought wrong, I said. Not unkindly, but firmly. I have been waiting, watching, hoping you would remember why this place matters. Hoping you would remember your grandfather. Hoping you would remember me. But instead, you chose to listen to her. Rebecca's hands were shaking. This is ridiculous. Sophie, call your lawyer. There must be some legal recourse. She cannot just, I can, I said. And I turned to the contractor. Sir, I am sorry, but there will be no renovation. Please send your invoice for the consultation to my attention. The contractor nodded, gathered his tools, and quickly left. I looked at Rebecca. You are fired, effective immediately. Please remove your personal belongings from the office. I will have the locks changed by tomorrow. You cannot fire me, Rebecca sputtered. Sophie hired me. Sophie does not have the authority to hire anyone, I said. I do, and I am exercising that authority now. Rebecca looked at Sophie. Are you going to let her do this? After everything I have done for you? For this business? Sophie was crying now, quiet tears streaming down her face. Grandma, please, she said. Can we talk about this? Can we figure this out? We can talk, I said. After Rebecca leaves, Rebecca grabbed her purse. This is not over, she said. I have put months of work into this place. You owe me. I owe you nothing, I said. You came into my shop, disrespected me, undermined me, and tried to push me out of my own business. The only thing I owe you is this. I handed her a final paycheck I had prepared that morning. 2 weeks severance. More than you deserve. Rebecca snatched it from my hand. She looked at Sophie one more time. Call me when you come to your senses, she said. Then she turned and walked out of Belle Rave. The door chimed as it closed behind her. And then there was only silence. Sophie and I stood there for a long moment. She was still crying. I felt my own tears threatening, but I held them back. I needed to be strong right now. For both of us, Grandma, Sophie said finally. I am so sorry. I know, I said. I did not mean for it to go this far, she continued. Rebecca seemed so confident, so sure, and I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe we could make Belle Rave successful. Really successful. Belle Rave was successful, I said gently. Maybe not in the way Rebecca measured success, but we were doing well. We were making enough. We were making our customers happy. That was always the point. I know, Sophie whispered. I wanted to impress you. I wanted to show you I could run a business. That I was smart and capable and not just your little granddaughter playing dress-up anymore. My heart broke. I walked over to her and took her hands. Sophie, you never had to impress me. I have always been proud of you. Always, but you never said. I said it all the time, I interrupted gently. Maybe you just were not listening. Maybe Rebecca's voice became louder than mine. Sophie pulled her hands away and walked to the window. She made me feel important, she said. Like I was really doing something. Like I mattered. You have always mattered, I said. To me, to your grandfather, to everyone who loves you. But I wanted to matter in the business world, Sophie said. I wanted to be taken seriously. And Rebecca made me feel like a real businesswoman. Like I was not just your granddaughter working in her grandma's little shop. I felt that sting again. Is that what you think Belle Rave is? A little shop? Sophie turned to me. No, I mean, I do not know. Grandma, I am confused. I am so confused. Then let me clear things up, I said. I walked over to her. Belle Rave is not just a shop. It is a legacy. It's 35 years of relationships. It's 35 years of serving women in this community. It's 35 years of your grandfather and me working side by side, building something meaningful, something that mattered. I know that, Sophie said. Do you? I asked. Because for the past 6 months, you have been trying to turn it into something else. Something shinier, something more profitable, something more impressive. But you forgot what made it special in the first place. Sophie sank into a chair. I messed everything up, she said. Yes, I said. You did. She looked up at me, startled. You are not going to make me feel better. No, I said. Not right now. Right now, you need to feel bad. You need to understand what you did. You let someone come into our family business and disrespect me. You chose her opinions over mine. You stopped listening to me. You stopped respecting me. And you called the things your grandfather and I built outdated and old-fashioned. Grandma, I am not finished, I said. My voice was firm but not unkind. Sophie, I love you. I have always loved you. And I wanted to share this business with you. I wanted to pass it down to you. But not like this. Not with you treating it like some startup you can strip down and rebuild. Not with you treating me like some old woman who does not know anything anymore. Sophie was crying harder now. I never meant to make you feel that way, but you did, I said. And that is something you need to face. We sat in silence for several minutes. I could hear the street noise outside. The normal sounds of the neighborhood going about its day. Everything continued, just like it always did. Finally, Sophie spoke. What happens now? Now, I said. Now you decide what kind of person you want to be. What kind of businesswoman you want to be. Do you want to be like Rebecca? Ruthless, focused only on profit. Willing to destroy the heart of something to make it more successful. Or do you want to be like your grandfather and me? Building slowly. Building with integrity. Building something that lasts. I want to be like you, Sophie whispered. Then prove it, I said. Show me, not with words. With actions. Rebecca smiled that cold smile again. Are you? She said. Because from where I am standing, Sophie and I are the ones running things. You just show up and rearrange things that do not need rearranging. I stared at her. This is my business, actually, Rebecca said, pulling out a folder. I have been meaning to talk to you about that. Sophie and I have been discussing the future of Belrave. We think it would be beneficial for everyone if ownership were transferred to Sophie. You could retire. Enjoy your golden years. Stop worrying about inventory and payroll and all these stressful things. Retire. I said, Rebecca, I am 71, not 90. I am perfectly capable of running my own shop. Are you though? Rebecca said. Because lately you seem confused, forgetful. You ordered those soaps twice last month. You forgot about the meeting with the new landlord. Sophie and I are worried about you. I am not confused, I said. My voice was shaking now. I am perfectly fine. Of course you are, Rebecca said in a tone you would use with a child. But still, it might be time to think about stepping back. For your own good, I went home that day feeling smaller than I had ever felt in my life. I sat in my living room and looked at the photos on my mantel. Thomas and me on our wedding day. Thomas and me at the grand opening of Belrave. Sophie as a little girl, playing dress-up in the shop. I picked up the phone and called Sophie again. Darling, we need to talk. Rebecca spoke to me about transferring ownership. I want you to know that I am not ready for that. There was a long silence. Grandma, Sophie said finally. Maybe you should be ready. Maybe it is time. Time for what? I asked. Time for me to give up the thing I love most. The thing your grandfather and I built together. Time for you to let go, Sophie said. Time for you to trust me. Trust us, I do trust you, I said. But I do not trust Rebecca. She is changing everything. She is turning Belrave into something it is not. She is making it profitable, Sophie snapped. She is making it successful. Something it has not been in years. That is not true, I said. We were doing fine before she came along, were we? Sophie said. Because the books say something different. We were barely breaking even, Grandma. Rebecca showed me. We were one bad season away from closing. That is not accurate, I said. I have always managed the finances carefully. Maybe you did once, Sophie said. But not anymore. Grandma, I love you. But you have to accept that you cannot do this alone anymore. And honestly, maybe you should not be doing it at all. I felt tears stream down my face. Sophie, please. Do not let her push me out. No one is pushing you out, Sophie said. But her voice was cold, distant. We are just trying to move forward. And you are holding us back. She hung up. And I sat there in the silence, wondering how I had lost my granddaughter to a woman I barely knew. The next few weeks were a nightmare. Rebecca became bolder. She stopped pretending to respect my opinions. She would overturn my decisions in front of customers. She would correct me when I spoke to suppliers. She made me feel incompetent, worthless, like a burden. One afternoon, I was helping a long-time customer find a gift for her daughter. Mrs. Patterson had been shopping at Belrave since we opened. She was like a friend, Margaret, she said warmly. I am looking for one of those beautiful silk scarves you used to carry. The ones with the hand-painted flowers. Oh, I am so sorry, I said. We do not carry those anymore. But I can show you some lovely alternatives. Do not bother, Rebecca's voice cut in. She had appeared beside us. Mrs. Patterson, those scarves were overpriced and outdated. Let me show you what is current. Double quotes. Mrs. Patterson looked uncomfortable. Actually, I specifically wanted those scarves. My daughter collects them. Well, they are gone now, Rebecca said dismissively. Margaret has trouble letting go of old inventory. But we have moved on to better things. Mrs. Patterson looked at me. I saw pity in her eyes. I see, she said quietly. Well, perhaps I will come back another time. She left without buying anything. And I stood there humiliated as Rebecca returned to the office without another word. That evening, I stayed late at the shop. I sat at the old desk in the back where Thomas and I used to do the books together. I thought about the 35 years we had poured into this place. I thought about the customers we had served, the friendships we had made, the community we had built, and I realized something. I was not going to let Rebecca take this from me. Not without a fight. The final confrontation came on a Friday afternoon. I arrived at the shop to find a contractor taking measurements in the main room. Rebecca and Sophie were standing near the window, looking at fabric swatches. What is going on? I asked. Rebecca turned to me with that same cold smile. We are renovating, Margaret. Finally giving Belle Rave the update it desperately needs. Renovating, I said. I did not approve this. You do not need to approve it, Rebecca said. Sophie and I have already made the decision. We are knocking down that back wall to create more retail space. We are replacing all the old fixtures, completely modernizing the layout. I looked at Sophie. You agreed to this? Without even talking to me? Sophie would not meet my eyes. Grandma, we talked about this. Well, we tried to talk to you about it. You just do not listen anymore. I listen, I said. My voice was rising. I listen every time you tell me my ideas are old-fashioned. Every time you dismiss my concerns. Every time you choose her over me. This is not about choosing anyone, Sophie said. This is about what is best for the business that I own, I said. Rebecca laughed. Actually laughed. Do you, Margaret? Because Sophie and I have been operating as partners for months now. We have been making all the real decisions. You just show up and move things around like you are playing shopkeeper. I am not playing anything, I said. This is my shop, not for long, Rebecca said. The mask was off now. The pretense was gone. Sophie is going to buy you out. We have already spoken to a lawyer. We have a very generous offer prepared. You will have enough money to live comfortably. You can finally rest. Stop embarrassing yourself by pretending you can still run a business. I looked at Sophie. Is this true? Sophie finally met my eyes, and what I saw there broke my heart. Guilt, but also determination. Grandma, it is for the best. You deserve to retire, to enjoy your life. Let me take care of Belle Rave now. Take care of it. I said, or let Rebecca destroy it. Destroy it, Rebecca said. I am saving it from you. You are stuck in the past, Margaret. You are a relic. And frankly, you are in the way, Rebecca. That is enough, Sophie said quietly. But Rebecca kept going. No, Sophie. Someone needs to say it. Your grandmother is too old to run this business. She makes mistakes. She forgets things. She cannot keep up. And you know what? She is a fool for thinking she still belongs here. A fool. The room went silent. The contractor stopped measuring. Sophie closed her eyes. And I stood there, feeling that word cut through me like a knife. Fool. I took a deep breath. And then another. I felt something shift inside me. Something that had been bending finally straightened. Something that had been quiet finally found its voice. Excuse me, I said calmly. I walked past them to the back office. I opened the old filing cabinet where I kept important documents. And I pulled out a large envelope. One I had not opened in years. One I had hoped I would never need. I walked back into the main room. Rebecca and Sophie were whispering to each other. They stopped when they saw me. What is that? Rebecca asked. Open it, I said, placing the envelope on the counter. Rebecca looked at Sophie. Sophie looked confused. Slowly, Rebecca opened the envelope. I watched her face as she read through the papers inside. I watched the confusion turn to shock. Watched the shock turn to something close to fear. What is this? She said, but her voice was different now, uncertain. That, I said calmly, is the original deed to Belle Rave, the deed that shows I am the sole owner of this building and this business. The deed that shows Thomas left everything to me in his will. The deed that proves Sophie has no ownership stake whatsoever. When my daughter-in-law called me a fool, I did not argue. I did not shout. I did not even cry. I just smiled, nodded, and walked away. She thought she had won. She thought I was weak. She thought I had nothing left to give. But she did not know what I was holding in my hand. She did not know about the envelope in my bedroom drawer. She did not know about the will. And she certainly did not know that sometimes the quietest people carry the heaviest truths. My name is Margaret. I am 71 years old. I have lived a long life. I have loved deeply. I have lost more than I care to remember. But nothing prepared me for the day I realized that the family I built with my own hands had turned against me. This is not a story of revenge. This is not a story of anger. This is a story about dignity, about knowing when to speak and when to stay silent, about showing love even when it is not returned, and about the moment I finally decided to stop being a fool. Let me take you back to where it all began. Let me tell you about my daughter-in-law, my granddaughter, and the shop that became a battlefield. Let me tell you how I lost my place in my own business. And let me tell you how, in the end, I found my voice again. It started on a Tuesday morning. I remember because Tuesdays were always inventory days at the shop. The sun was shining through the front windows. The smell of lavender sachets filled the air. I was arranging scarves on the display table when I heard her voice from the back office, sharp, cold, annoyed. Why did you order these again? I told you we are not stocking that brand anymore. I looked up. My daughter-in-law, Rebecca, was standing in the doorway holding one of the order forms. It was for our best-selling line of handmade soaps. We had been carrying them for 15 years. Our customers loved them. I did not think changing suppliers was a good idea, but the look on her face told me my opinion did not matter. I am sorry, I said softly. I thought we agreed to keep them until the end of the season. She tossed the form onto the counter. It landed on top of the silk scarves I had just arranged. She did not say anything else. She just turned and walked back to the office. I heard the door close firmly. Not quite a slam, but close enough, and I felt something crack inside my chest. It was small. It was quiet, but it was there. That was the beginning. The shop was called Belle Rave, Beautiful Dream in French. My late husband, Thomas, and I opened it 35 years ago. It was a women's boutique. We sold clothing, accessories, handmade jewelry, artisan soaps, beautiful things that made women feel special. Thomas handled the business side. I handled the creative side. We worked side by side every single day. We built something beautiful together. Something that mattered. When Thomas passed away 5 years ago, I thought about closing the shop. The memories were too painful. Every corner reminded me of him. Every decision felt impossible without him. But my granddaughter, Sophie, begged me to keep it open. She was 23 then, fresh out of college with a business degree. She said she wanted to help me. She said we could run it together. She said it would be good for both of us. And it was. For a while. Sophie had fresh ideas. She understood social media. She brought in younger customers. She made Belle Rave feel alive again. I was so proud of her. I watched her grow into a confident young woman. I watched her take ownership of something I had built with my own hands. And I thought this was how it should be. A legacy passing from one generation to the next. Then Sophie got married. Her husband was a nice enough young man, quiet, worked in finance. But it was not him I needed to worry about. It was his mother, Rebecca. Rebecca was 52. She had recently gone through a difficult divorce. She was looking for something to do with her time, something to throw herself into. And somehow, she decided that something was my shop. It started innocently enough. Rebecca would stop by to visit Sophie. She would browse the merchandise. She would make small suggestions. Have you thought about carrying more contemporary styles? Maybe the lighting could be brighter. This window display looks a bit old-fashioned. At first, I took it as helpful advice. I even made some of the changes she suggested. But then the suggestions became demands, and the visits became daily occurrences. And before I knew it, Rebecca had inserted herself into every aspect of Belle Rave. Sophie seemed happy about it at first. "Grandma, is it not great?" she said one day. "Rebecca has so much experience. She used to work in retail management. She can really help us grow the business." I smiled and nodded. But something in my stomach twisted. This was my shop. Mine and Thomas's. I had poured my heart and soul into it for over 3 decades. And now this woman, this stranger, was treating it like her own personal project. "I am sure she means well," I said to Sophie. "But darling, we need to be careful. Belle Rave has a certain identity, a certain feel. We cannot just change everything." Sophie patted my hand. "I know, Grandma. We are not changing everything. We are just updating a few things, modernizing. You want the shop to survive, do not you?" Of course I did. But I also wanted it to remain what it was. What Thomas and I had created. What our customers loved. But my voice became quieter. And Rebecca's became louder. Within 6 months, Rebecca had convinced Sophie to give her an official position. Operations manager, they called it. I was not consulted. I arrived at the shop one morning and found new business cards printed with Rebecca's name on them. She had her own key, her own desk in the back office, her own ideas about how everything should be run. "Margaret," she said to me one day, not even bothering with formalities like Mrs. Henderson, "I have been looking at the books. We are spending too much on inventory. We need to cut costs. I have made a list of items we should discontinue." She handed me a sheet of paper. I looked at it and felt my heart sink. Nearly every item on that list was something I had personally chosen. Items I knew our customers loved. Items that had been part of Belle Rave's identity for years. "Rebecca, I do not think this is a good idea," I said carefully. "These are our bestsellers." "They were your bestsellers," Rebecca corrected. "But times change. Customer preferences change. We need to adapt or die. But our customers come to us because we are different," I tried to explain. "Because we carry unique items they cannot find anywhere else." Rebecca smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Margaret, I understand this is difficult for you. Change is hard, especially at your age. But Sophie and I have discussed this extensively. We both agree this is the right direction for the business." Sophie agreed to this. I asked. "Of course she did," Rebecca said. "She trusts my judgment. She knows I want what is best for Belle Rave." I wanted to argue. I wanted to say that I had been running this shop successfully for 35 years. That I knew my customers better than she ever would. That this was my business, not hers. But I did not. I just nodded and walked away. That night, I called Sophie. "Darling," I said gently, "can we talk about the changes Rebecca is proposing?" Sophie sighed. "Grandma, please. Not you too. Rebecca has been so stressed. She is just trying to help." "I know," I said. "But Belle Rave is important to me. It is your grandfather's legacy. I do not want to see it become something it is not. It is not becoming something else," Sophie said. Her voice had an edge to it. "It is just growing, evolving. Why are you being so resistant?" "I am not being resistant," I said. "I just think we should be careful." Sophie laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Grandma, you have been running this shop the same way for decades. Maybe that is the problem. Maybe you are too stuck in your ways to see that we need to change." Her words stung. "Sophie, that is not fair. I have to go," she said. "We will talk later." But we did not talk later. Not really. Sophie started pulling away from me. She spent more time with Rebecca. They would have meetings without including me. They would make decisions without asking my opinion. I became a ghost in my own shop. The months that followed were painful. Every day, I watched Rebecca change Belle Rave little by little. She brought in cheaper merchandise. She got rid of the artisan items. She changed the window displays to look like every other boutique on the street. She even wanted to change the name. Belle Rave sounds pretentious, she said one morning. We should rebrand. Something more accessible. More modern. I felt tears prick my eyes. Absolutely not, I said firmly. That name means something. Thomas chose it. I will not change it. Rebecca raised her eyebrows. Margaret, you are being emotional. This is business, not sentiment. It is both, I said. And I am still the owner of this shop.